You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 26th meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We're going to call the meeting to order, the Michigan City Sanitary District, February 26th. All right, yeah. Now for roll call. Don Babcock.
Yeah,
Tim Werner.
Present.
Andy Spalding.
Here.
Linda Simmons here. We have a quorum. You'll see on the agenda today, we have election of officers. So we are putting together a slate so we can do that today. And we'll start off our February 2025 meeting with our new slate of officers. I would like to nominate Don Babcock as president.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For vice president, nominate Andy Sperling.
I will second that nomination.
Aye.
I said you're okay with that?
You can't run away.
Yeah.
You went on that spot.
There's not a lot of room here.
And then we are missing today Tance Falls, so just so everyone knows, he's still with us, he just isn't here today yet. Then for secretary, Rachel has done an awesome job for us since we started off last year. So Rachel, I'd like to nominate you as secretary for the board of directors.
Second that.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Rachel
That's
is the
Rachel.
secretary. So I'll go through this again. We have Don Babcock as president, Andy Sperling as vice, Rachel as secretary, and Chris, you're the business manager. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, so what we're gonna do right now
Let's
is,
just add to this one. All in favor say aye. Just to reaffirm.
all in favor say aye.
Aye. All right.
Motion passed, and congratulations to the new president, vice president, and secretary. Okay, now Andy, we can switch seats now, because you're gonna take over running the meeting.
Wouldn't that be done?
Oh, I'm just looking at you as I'm talking. Yes,
Yeah.
Don, Babcock, you wanna switch or just switch next
Aye,
time?
that's okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
All right. Well, all right. Good evening, Michigan City, Indiana. Always have to start with that stuff just for fun because this are exciting times in our city, and we've got a great group of people that want to continue to move the city forward. I'm honored to be selected as president of this distinguished board, and Linda, I want to thank you for all your hard work here as president, and also all your good work on the Tourism Bureau and any sundry number of boards and things that you've been on over the years. We wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you.
But certainly the organization has advanced under your leadership and with the support of Chris and the rest of the team here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So moving on down the agenda, we have the minutes from our Wednesday, January 22nd meeting. If you had a chance to approve this, I'd love to hear a motion to accept those.
Motion to accept the minutes from the January 22nd to 2025 meeting.
Second?
Is any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, item 5, public comment. We'd love to have public comment today, if you would identify yourself and where you're at. Plus, if in the public comment, since we tried this a little bit the last meeting, if you have a specific agenda item that you would like to address, what I'd suggest is, and this is acceptable to the rest of the board, that we hold your comments at the beginning of the meeting, so wait till the actual item comes up on the agenda, and then it'd be more apropos before we take a vote. Are you in favor of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so any public comment?
Yeah, good afternoon, board members. Don Przpolinski, the liaison to the sanitary district from the city council. And I have 2 comments. One is I want to congratulate Mr. Chris Carter, our refuse superintendent. I believe that's his correct title. And I've been working with Chris hand in hand since he's got that new job. And there was an issue kept coming up in a certain neighborhood, and Chris and I kept trying to deal with it. And finally, I called Chris one day and told him about the issue, and the neighbor had called me that lives in this particular neighborhood, and he saw where Chris had, it was a Monday morning, I guess, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and he showed up to where this issue was at by himself in a garbage truck and took care of the cans that weren't emptied for whatever reason. And some of the cans were recycle cans, which you're not supposed to put refuse in. And Chris had taken all that and cleaned it all up. Talked to the person that was responsible for that. So I just want to give Chris kudos for going out of his way to get in a garbage truck and taking care of the issue then and there. So I want to thank him for that. The second issue I'd like to talk about is the York Street corridor, okay, going from Homer Street north all the way up to Main Street. And that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a 6-block stretch, okay? And if you're familiar with York Street, it's a brick street. I don't know how old it is, very old. And yeah, not a lot of work has been done to it since it was installed, because it's a brick street. The street's in good shape. Well, my issue is, and I think that the issue of the neighbors and what the sanitary district has to possibly start studying, and I talked to the mayor about it, is we need to revamp the street, the shoulders of it, the easements of it, and especially the stormwater sewer system where this board plays into. And that's why I was called to the corner of DuPage and York on Monday morning. No, it was Tuesday morning, because it was 50 degrees, so I finally hooked up with the guy. So we met, big puddle in the front of his house on the corner. There's no storm sewer there, but I know that the sanitary district had put slag in this real low spot to try to suck up the water, or to try to alleviate the splash as the cars drive by, parked cars, and get them all splashed. Well, it doesn't look very attractive, and the amount of storm sewers that are on that stretch, because the way I understand, maybe by standards, you should have 2 on every corner, or possibly 4. I don't know what the standards are for storm sewers. But, so you have 10 storm sewers in a 6-block stretch. And take, for example, on 2 corners, there are no storm sewers, none whatsoever. And then on 2 other blocks, 2 other corners, there's just 2. And then for whatever reason, on the other 2, there's 3. Okay, and I guess if you want to take a example of what I envision the rest of York Street should look like, if you're familiar where Main Street is at, that's the most north block on York Street before you get to 11th. Okay, you can't go any farther, because then you hit 11th and you hit the fence. All right, that street there was revamped when Mayor Oberly was in office, and the bricks are still there. Put in new curbing, put in parking on both sides of the street, took away the ugly easements and the dead trees that were sitting there, and it looks like a nice uniform block, which I think the neighbors in the neighborhood deserve. You know, that particular neighborhood was back when I was younger, a beautiful neighborhood. It's starting to come back. People are fixing up their homes and taking care of their properties. And I think it would behoove the city if we didn't invest in a neighborhood like that. You know, I know we want, 10-story skyscrapers and a double track and all this, but there's other things in Michigan City besides that. There's neighborhoods where people live, and people should have nice surroundings. They pay taxes just like everybody else, and they should get what I'll call it, the big shots get in town. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention. Hopefully we can get some traction with this. And I talked to the mayor about it last week, and she's well familiar with the area, and I'm going to set up a drive-through with her and a walkthrough or whatever you want to call it, and see what we can get going. But I just want to bring it to the board's attention. And on some of these corners, and I don't know if it happened, but it could have happened, that back in the day, there were storm sewers on some of these corners. I know, you gotta look at the computer and do all that stuff. But you know where the intersections are blacktop, yeah, Tim knows what I'm talking about.
Raised up over.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 intersections. Well, in fact, all those intersections are blacktop. Yeah, going east and west. And the blacktop kind of swings out a little bit. So, I'm thinking maybe some of those storm sewers could have been covered up when they did that blacktop work, and that might be something for the city to investigate and see if there are storm sewers there. That would be a good start, I think.
I see Al writing notes like crazy.
So, I'll sit with you.
So Chris, if I may, on this specific issue, Tim, I assume you're involved too, so will somebody be on the trip with our good councilman and the mayor, or should we have somebody with them?
I think that even though we could put our engineer, John Gorska, with him.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have all of you go together. If we're gonna organize somebody, please invite us.
Sure.
Yeah, I know Skylar and I have been looking at that for a while now and trying to figure out what we can do there. And I'm not sure, we haven't really talked to the sanitary district about storm sewer issues in the area, but it'll be quite a change in grade to get those things to drain properly. And you're right, there could be inlets that were covered up with asphalt.
Yeah, I don't know. And it just so happens, if you just take a look at the block between Homer and Barker Ave by Marsh School right there, yeah, that one block there, Mayor Perry, we got that done because that street used to go like this. It was a washboard. So he invested the money and, we got that fixed, so. We got 1 out of 6 done.
Well, making progress. So any comments from the board relative to that, or Chris, or anything?
I think that, like I say, John could go along, I'll go along also if necessary. Yeah,
Right.
we'll address it.
So any public comment?
That gets arranged.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a holler.
I'll try to keep it brief.
Scott forgot down, we were supposed to limit you to 3 minutes, I'm sorry, so.
You have to be quiet the next 3 times.
200 Kevin Place. Given what's happening in Washington with budgets being drastically and wantonly cut, I'm wondering if the sanitary board is concerned with any possible federal funding we may be receiving for waterworks or sanitary work that could be put in jeopardy, given they're not honoring past contracts at this moment, as the so-called Doge thing rips its way through our federal government. But given how heavily involved the feds are with matching funds and sanitation and water, if we haven't looked at any line items that could be affected, I think that's something we should probably look into to prepare ourselves for a shortage of federal funds that we were expecting. I don't know if we have anything on order at this moment, but it's something we need to prepare ourselves for, I believe. That was my comment. Thank you.
Appreciate the comments, and we'll keep an eye on it, then report back if we find something. Sure. Any other public comments, or any other public comments related to future agenda items either? Anything else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next order of business is the financial report. Chris, on January 2025 cash balances and 2025 property casualty renewal by general insurances. So A first, please.
Correct. So verified yesterday through our controller's office, It was our operating fund is $2,055,857.16. Our tax levy refuge fund, $2,665,208.66. Again, verified yesterday.
I appreciate that. And as you know, I'm interested in that because in a minute we're going to offer some bills. We're going to make sure we have enough money in the bank. So, thank you. All right. Item B, 2025 property and casualty renewal with general insurances.
And I want to note that over a week ago, myself, Matt Weber, and Charlie King met with General Insurance, and they highlighted all of the essential steps along the way for our insurance policy to renew again this year. I'm in total agreement with it, but I'd like to bring them up this time to give a synopsis of what we met with and then my recommendation after that.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just here tonight to, number one, answer any questions. Happy to go over and do a brief introductory or review of the property and casualty insurance program for the sanitary district. Whatever the board pleasure is.
I would love to hear at just a high level of our insurance and maybe a couple of different buckets.
Sure.
See how much liability and potential out there.
Absolutely. So I'll just kind of run through this quickly. As I do this, if you have any questions, please just stop. Been doing this for almost 30 years, so I get going and I make the assumption people know.
We'll you a little, Charlie.
Yeah, okay, so, very good, thanks, Tom. First page there is just our scope of service to the sanitary district. Won't get in detail. The bolded sections of the first column kind of tell you what we do for the sanitary district. Had a long-term relationship, and we appreciate it. And, it's been fun. So, next page is just our team. No changes there. Same team as we've had for several years now. Myself, Matt Weber, Stacy, and Jan. Very familiar with the sanitary district operations and from a liability insurance standpoint, of course. Moving on. First page of the page 4 of the executive summary. First section, I just kind of put in there a loss analysis. So essentially what we're trying to accomplish here is show you the losses that we've had from the sanitary district's perspective as it relates to the insurance premium paid to the insurance carriers. So first column shows the policy term. Second column shows you the number of claims that have been turned in. Third column shows loss expense reserve. That simply means that an insurance company hasn't paid it, but they're expecting to pay it. Loss and expense payment. That's what the insurance companies have actually paid. Recovery means any type of recovery that you may get back from a third party. And then those three columns added together is the total incurred. Divided by the premium that you paid in gets you the loss ratio in the far right-hand column. So 2024 was an outlier because we had the hailstorm, big property losses here at the sanitary district, so roofs and things like that are expensive. So that's an outlier. But if you look at the total 5-year loss, bottom right-hand corner of that table, 202. A little over 202% loss ratio. So
the loss ratio, that's what the loss was relative to our premium?
Correct.
Okay.
So essentially they paid out 200% of the premium you paid in.
Well worth it. So we had almost $2,400,000 worth of losses.
Correct.
And we paid you about 50,000, I don't know.
No, not more than that. Significantly more than that. I don't have that. I don't have the exact number over the last 5 years.
Well, maybe it's 202. Is that 2 times what it is? Okay, so our premium.
Well, I mean, the math isn't that simple. Yeah, the math isn't quite that simple, but yeah.
But regardless, a good deal for us all the way around, so.
Correct. I mean, obviously, you pull that hail loss out of last year, you know, because that's an outlier. It's an act of God.
Right.
It is what it is. You know, you're fairly in good shape. Let's put it that way. We've had a couple, you know, unprofitable years. So 23 and 24. The rest have been the way an insurance company would view profitable.
Cool.
Okay.
Got it.
Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. 2025 program cost summary. Total renewal premium, $327,934. That does represent a 16.41% increase. Of the increase, 12.29% is exposure, which I'll get to in a minute. Exposure just simply means more coverage. And then 4.12% is rate increase. Any questions on that? Nope.
What coverage is increased?
Yeah, and I'll get to
That's where you're going next.
here in a couple minutes, but it's mainly in the property coverage, and I'll explain that when we get there, so. Moving to page 5, we're getting in kind of the coverage summary here, the next couple pages. Middle column is expiring limits and deductibles. Right column is renewal. So I just simply put a comparison from expiring to renewal. 2024 expiring, 2025 renewal. General liability section, this pays for things like bodily injury and property damage to third parties. This is your primary liability coverage. Each occurrence, $1 million, $2 million aggregate. We have an umbrella which increases those limits, which I'll talk about here momentarily. That includes employee benefits liability, $1 million per claim, $3 million aggregate. Next section, public entity management liability. Essentially, public officials' liability for decisions made as boards and directors of the organization. So what we would call wrongful acts. Primary limits, $1 million each occurrence, $2 million aggregate.
The board likes that, by the way.
Yep. Okay. The umbrella also increases that limit an additional $5 million, which I'll give you to momentarily. Employment practices liability. So this is anything hiring, firing, discrimination, EEOC type claims that may be brought against the district.
And that coverage was decreased, correct?
Yeah, that is actually an error. That is actually the same. I apologize.
Apologies on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is actually the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Also included in employment practices, workplace violence, $250,000 of coverage. So, if there aren't any questions on that, I'll move on. Excess liability, or what we call the umbrella policy, covers an additional $5 million over the primary general liability, public entity management liability, and the employment practices liability. So essentially, what we try to accomplish with the liability covers is to cover at least to the tort cap that exists in the state of Indiana. Of course, those caps don't exist when it goes to federal court, but we try to be within those limits. So we haven't made any changes to those liability limits in many years. So
So you can explain it just a little bit. In Indiana, the tort liability is they can't sue us for more than $5 million. So this.
I believe it's $5 million total, $750 per person.
Correct.
Okay, so this covers that up to.
Correct. So that's how we've kind of looked at
That makes sense.
your exposure, your total exposure. So
Gotcha.
the state does cap
Frivolous quote stuff, right?
for public entities.
Yeah.
That doesn't really exist in the private sector. So if there aren't any questions, moving on to the next page, page number 6. This is, the property section is where the majority of the exposure increase exists. So as you can see, blanket buildings and business personal property. So that's everything that the district owns. Buildings, including all the stuff in there, including, with the exception of autos and equipment, that's everything that would be on their premises. Travelers, your current carrier did an analysis of the capacity of the water treatment plant and determined with their great wisdom that you're $25 million underinsured. So they write a lot of public entities, utilities, things like that. So they do have a good knowledge base and a good database to compare the sanitary district of Michigan City to the rest of their accounts. So they pretty much said we're increasing the values to replacement costs.
So this, what does this call for, like pump failures and things like that, or is it catastrophic stuff that?
Could be pump failers, fires, lightning,
okay.
windstorms,
Tornado damage.
tornadoes.
Yeah, so what Chris just, high level stuff, I'm putting you on the spot here. Is our plant worth $95 million?
Yes.
Okay, so we got $95 million worth of coverage against at least $95 million
We'll
worth.
bring a best consultant to take with.
Okay.
The remainder of that's going to be here
It's
shortly.
just, like if I was insuring my house, I want coverage for the whole house, right? So
Right.
just trying to make that analogy for myself.
What that replacement costs?
And the replacement costs even better, yes. So,
And this is replacement cost coverage. Not to go into a tangent, but the inflationary environment that we live in
Sure.
has really changed the insurance landscape. They haven't been able to keep up with the loss. You've probably seen your own personal insurance
sure.
go up in premium and values and things like that. Really no different from on the sanitary district level as well. So.
Where would lost revenue fall in terms of the coverages?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Let's see here. We have, we actually did not put it on here, but we do have business interruption coverage. So essentially that's going to cover your, you don't really have per se lost profits, but it's going to pay for your continuing expenses, payrolls, any kind of loan obligations you have in the event of a loss.
So to a degree, there can be lost revenues. For example,
Okay.
we'll have, and we were just having a discussion about this before the meeting, if there are some entities that will pay to dispose of certain wastewater here at the facility, and if for some reason we were down, we wouldn't be able to
Lost
take
that
that
revenue,
waste and we
yeah.
would lose that revenue.
Sure.
So I'm just curious whether or not there's a bucket here.
Yes,
to
there
cover.
is. Yeah, it is built in.
You get the scenario I'm talking about? Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Plus, so there could be lost revenue. If the plant goes down, what you would have to do, those would be continuing expense type things. How would you?
Depending upon the period of time too, it could end up being significant.
Correct.
Especially as activities increase, which
Right.
I know the group is working on increasing those activities. You're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah, trying to come up with temporary treatment systems. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great point.
So,
Thank
so
you.
that's shelved someplace in another document then somewhere?
Yeah, well, again,
Maybe read the page for us or something, or
we try to
summarize.
we try to put an executive summary together. We can't. We could spend hours doing this, and we try to. But
Well, to get to a specific point, though, I'd love to have at least some
supplement,
summary. Well,
yeah.
you bet.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks. So we're insuring 59 vehicles and 10 trailers.
Yeah.
And for $1 million each, and
Well, that's the liability. The vehicles and trailers are actual cash value, just like your own personal auto. We pay for the value of the vehicle at the time of the loss. And if I can back up to the inland marine,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no problem. This is all the district's equipment. So backhoes, loaders, anything that moves around, essentially. So a little over $1.8 million. And then next section, electronic data processing. This is a separate bucket for computers and anything with a microchip in it. we've analyzed that over the years and kind of scrutinized it. And,
Sure. Well, we're adding more all the time too. Huh?
Correct. And we've been in lengthy conversations with the IT department, and we think we got it dialed in. So, and then auto coverage, same number of vehicles and trailers net. 69 vehicles and trailers. To note, there is one vehicle that will actually be coming off of there that we gave to Vector Control. So it'll actually be 58 and not 59. So that will change premium slightly downward.
Can I ask another quick question?
Of course.
Just back to the electronic data processing coverage. So is that then the equivalent of cybersecurity coverage, or is this something different?
No, the cyber, we have the cyber coverage is built into this.
Okay.
This is the actual physical
That's
loss to the
physical.
hardware.
Oh, okay.
Hardware and software, should there be any proprietary software. Correct.
Gotcha.
And it's our servers also that's covered.
Correct. Technically, anything with a microchip would fall under that limit.
So to this point, this is an interesting question for me, Chris. I'm assuming our computers and stuff are above ground level. They're not subject to a Trail Creek flood or anything like that in general, or is our stuff?
Correct. We have
I don't know. We don't have stuff in a basement someplace.
No,
in a big way.
we have it housed in a separate facility that's actually sealed, and it was utilized for during COVID. So we've got that pretty much a separate building in our collections department. So our servers are well protected.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions. Any other questions on that?
Well, I can sleep better at night, or Chris will anyway, 'cause it feels like
And like I say, these are the highlights, but we went over
Sure.
intensely with line item by line item.
Correct. Yeah.
It's certainly been of value to us, and I go back to the 5-year loss analysis. 2.3 or 4 million bucks is a lot of money. And even if I just went back to the premium this year, 300,000, 328,000 a year, you're recouping 2.4 million on a $328,000 bill per year. Over 5 years, you're way ahead. We're
Right.
well over $500,000, maybe $1 million ahead, something like that.
Yeah. And then, real quick, last page here, the crime coverage just outlines the actual crime coverage: employee theft, forgery, alteration, computer fraud, funds transfer fraud, social engineering, things like that. They just outline the limits there. We feel that's pretty adequate, considering all the controls that the sanitary district has in place. So. And then just real quick conclusion, after analyzing the marketplace, we feel that the traveler's renewal is very reasonable considering, public entity market space, we're seeing anywhere from 6 to 12 just rate increase. And reminding you, there's only really 4.2% increase on rate with the traveler's renewal. Most of it is in the exposure. And I also believe that the long-term relationship, we've been with travelers now for, I think it's going on 6 years, has served you guys well too. Had a big loss, they stood with you.
Yeah.
They're not dropping you,
I mean, that's,
So there was some value.
$2 million is not a small hit.
Yeah,
So.
right. So they don't expect these things to happen every year, the hailstorms, so.
I must know one of my big examples would be this prior storm that we had in the spring where we had the hail damage, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, Travelers was here. There was damage throughout the whole entire region. They were here immediately, brought drones, went to every roof, walked every roof throughout the whole property. Amazing. So I was very impressed with their results.
Great.
We're going to have everything done in the spring. We've encumbered the money from last year into this year, so we're having the spring and taking all the repairs.
So that's the summary. Are we going to take some action on this specifically today, or?
Correct.
Okay.
But based on, I'm sorry, I would like to base it again on public entity insurance market that's out there is 6 to 12% rate increase. We're looking at a 4.1% 1.2% rate increase, which I think we're well within our means, and I recommend highly that we continue on with general insurance.
And this, to be clear, let me go back to what I read, was $328,000, something like that. Whether it was the bill, something in that range. So, if it's agreeable, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve the continued use of general insurance with the new rate premium.
And we will have an invoice given to us, so we'll pay through the invoice.
Okay, wonderful. Is there a second?
A second.
Any further consideration or comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Nice presentation. Didn't mean to draw you too hard there.
No, that's what we're here for. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Charlie. Thank you for that. All right, Harris Law Firm, January invoice.
Mr. President, part of that, if I may interrupt for a second and go off course just for a moment, we have recently hired a new public works director for the city of Michigan City. So I would like to take an opportunity to bring Wendy Bichette, is that, did I say it correctly, Wendy?
Yeah.
Bichette, who is our new public works director. We're very happy to have her here, and I kind of let her introduce herself and take it from there.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt your meeting. Wendy Bachet, yes, I am the new Public Works Director. Very excited to be on board. A lot of great things obviously going on in the city. This is one of them. Bravo. Hear a lot of good things and a lot of great changes and a lot of great things about people that have been in the region for a long time and doing good work in other places. So nice to see some familiar faces and to see some new faces. So I'm here listening, obviously, for this first time around, but I'm a resource to all of you. I look forward to getting to know all of you better. Some of them I've already seen. Mr. Mellon, we keep running into one another.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. But this is a good thing. It's a great place to live, and it's a great place to have people here and to be interested. So happy to answer any questions you might have for me, and I'm sure you'll get to know me. I'm not shy.
So do me a favor, Wendy. I know Wendy quite well, and I've had nothing but good experiences with her, and I highly recommend her for the position too. Maybe just a little bit of your history and background, education, just high thumb level.
Sure, absolutely. I've been in the environmental infrastructure planning, get it done, recover from it business for about 30 years. My undergraduate is from Indiana University School of Public and Environmental Affairs. I have a master's from Old Dominion University. I've spent most of my career in consulting, working for Michael Baker Engineering, doing a variety of things, from environmental, again, to infrastructure development, cost recovery, construction, post-construction, recovery construction, a lot of things of that nature. A lot of it's been system management. How do we do things more efficiently and effectively with technology while still honoring our people? Because we always need people to get the job done. I spent a stint with the Department of Defense for several years, working for a 2-star admiral. That'll change your world. It's been nice to bring that into the lexicon of what I do. I also spent a wonderful period of time as a consultant and then on board as the Executive Director of Redevelopment for the city of Gary, Indiana. Left that position, took a little time off, and was so excited to land here so I could continue my career. I am a member of the American Planning Association and then a certified planner. I think that's probably good enough, if that helps.
Very impressive, very impressive.
Yes. Any questions for me, though? I mean, I'll be around, so you'll get to know me, and all of you will. But anything specific for me?
Well,
Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I will let you get on with your meeting, and I appreciated the questions because I wrote down cyber threat, and then you said it, and I thought, oh, we're already in sync. That's wonderful. So, well, I look forward to it, and I'll see more of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All
Okay,
right.
now we can move on to the Harris
Okay,
Law
thank you,
Firm.
Chris. Sure, yes. Harris Law Firm. So, Chris, you want to?
Correct, and this would be 2 separate invoices that you'll see that are in your package. Invoice 10787 for a total of $5,035.50. And the secondary would be invoice number 10788. And that would be for $281.25. It specifically lists all of the particulars in the contract itself that he did above and beyond, as we normally have passed for the rest of the year, the $5,000 stipend that he gets per month. So this is above and beyond that.
So it's approximately $5,500 above the normal stipend.
Well, it's actually, to be honest, it's $5,316.75. So
You got them both added, right? I saw the two of us didn't seem so much. Okay, thank you.
my recommendation is we then pay that sum that I just read of $5,316.75 to the Harris Law Firm.
If I could comment, just real quickly, not to drag the
Yes,
meeting
please.
along,
Yes.
but just to remind you that top page is a summary of the two invoices that are attached. And then just if you browse the activity that's included in those invoices, we were involved in a pretty big project of providing the district with a new lien process, and that's something that we've been working on with the city as well, the city finance department, and that's to make sure that we're one, complying with the statute that provides us with somewhat of a hammer in terms of being able to collect fees, and that hammer is a lien on an individual's property. But if you don't use that hammer properly, you lose it. So we need to make sure that there is a procedure in place so that we can track what is owed to the district, and that we follow the statutory requirements so that we record the liens and record them timely. Otherwise, if you don't use it, you lose it. So all those activities describe that. So there's a comprehensive kind of guide that we provided to the district that the finance department also reviewed, and they're in the process now of going through the implementation of that plan that we put together. That's what these activities are that you see.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate you clarify that because there was quite a bit above the retainer, so.
Correct. That's what it is. Yep. Yep.
And I might note within that same topic that we have called, me personally also have called Mr. Harris numerous times for numerous questions regarding numerous issues within the district, the 400 substation, for example, and he fully answers all of those questions without a charge or a clicking of the clock.
We're getting some
as they
pro
say.
bono on that.
So he's given us quite a bit of helpful information, guidance through the course of my transition, so I appreciate that.
That's right. It appears to me without this hammer, we're going to have a lot of trouble with enforcement on any number of things, right? So stuff in the yard, overflowing the sewer, what's in the sewer, whatever, all that kind of thing, right?
And personnel issues, we've had just a share of a variety of different things, and with that coming on, yes, we reached out to him for a lot of those answers right off the bat.
All right, so with those explanations, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve both invoices for a total of $5,316.75.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carries. All right, item 8, Christopher Burke, engineering.
Correct. Jenny, would you like to come forward?
So I believe, excuse me, Jenny Miller with Christopher Burke Engineering. I believe in your packet you have the report for the items that we did in January. This sort of wraps up our contract from last year. And then at the last board meeting, we entered into an on-call agreement with you all for services going forward. And those were to be identified in task summary sheets that we would bring to you for approval. So in addition to that report for the activities that we did in January, we have 2 task orders that we're bringing to you. I'm not sure which one's first in the order, but one is for MS4 activities, which is the stormwater and the requirements that we need to meet for that, and that is a $25,000 not to exceed number hourly, but those items are assigned as needed, and we will be working closely with Al through that process so that our MS4 team can get exactly what you need through that. And then the second one is an hourly not to exceed of $40,000, and that is for Adam Downey's continued participation in helping Rhonda with the plant and anything that she might need just for continuity, because he was an acting superintendent for several months before she took over. So this was just to keep him on retainer and to be able to answer any questions or help with any of the plant compliance issues that you have there. So I would respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. So let me just make sure I'm looking at the right paper.
Yes, yes.
I think that was the extra handout, right?
That was our summary
These are the
report.
two
There's-
items that are in the packet.
It's in your packet.
Yeah. The extra was our report.
Just after the aerosol for
Okay, I got you, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I got the page here for 68,000, 76,000. There they are.
40 and
40 and 25.
25, correct.
They're right there.
Those first two sheets.
Right there. Yeah.
Okay, oh, I see, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. And then
Thank you, thank you. All right.
And so my recommendation is, of course, we've lost our MS4 coordinator that we had earlier in the year of 2024, which would have been Arbor, who was an engineer. So with his departure, of course, they stepped up in 2024 to help us through that year, and now this will be the 2025 portion of it. So it's definitely a needed process. So I highly recommend that. The addition of Adam to assist Ron is very important also, so that she can become familiar with everything that Adam did during his tenure here for 2024. So I also recommend that $40,000 cap put on that process too.
I certainly appreciate the cap, so it at least gives us a good feel for what we're getting into.
Yeah, they're both capped at 25 and 40, so
Okay.
they won't go over.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move to approve the on-call MS4 compliance assistance for not to exceed 25,000 and the on-call wastewater compliance assistance for a not to exceed $40,000 fee.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks. All right, MS Consultants, Inc.
Good evening,
Here's a familiar face.
Ian Cutshaw with MS Consultants.
Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you. We are just giving you an update on where we're at with our preliminary engineering report, which is due to SRF by March 30th. We've had another month of activity, and in your board packet, you have a preliminary estimate of where we think the improvements are going to land. And it is a large sum. We're building a handful of buildings plus new clarifiers and aeration basins, UV disinfection, and sludge storage, which would be across the creek. Those are the major components. We're looking somewhere in the $70 to $80 million range. And we have engaged, already had a call with Baker Tilly to discuss rates. So that's ongoing, but this process is, I will tell you that this is a conservative estimate. If you look down through the details, we have 30% contingency, which is about $16 million. At this level of planning, that's appropriate for us to put a 30% contingency on the estimate. So, does anybody have any questions?
So it's 30% contingency is inside of the 70 to 80 million, is that
It's
it?
inside.
Okay.
Yes.
So the real expectation is that it will be at 50 to 60,000 million, excuse me. Lots of few
We
zeros.
would like, yes, we would like, and I think, again, I think these numbers, when we do these estimates, the high level estimates, they are conservative. We never want to be the low bidder on these sorts of things. We want to be.
It does get, I'm glad you're talking Baker Tilly, because it does ultimately at some point, our decisions end up in people's rates and their service and the capacity we have in the system.
Absolutely.
So I think it's, to your point, I think it's important that we do it right and hire somebody like yourself that we're confident in, so.
And there are a lot of components at this plant that we're not really touching. They're in good shape. I mean, they're old. Some of them were built, some of them in the 30s, 50s, 60s, and some in the 80s. And there are some components that are still good. The concrete's good. There's no need to mess with them.
So let me, if I wander here, you guys pull me back in a little bit. I'm just trying to understand a little bit. Going back to our insurance, we just upped our insurance to cover a $95 million plant, right? That's what I heard. And so now this is a $70 to $80 million upgrade to that $95 million plan, is that correct? Or replacing some components in it, or?
Well, I'm not sure how they came up with 95 million. I'd hate to throw a wrench in this, but typically, if you were to build this plant new somewhere across the street or somewhere else, usually it's about $20 to $30 a gallon, which puts you at about $250 to $300 million.
Okay.
So
Sure. Still kind of fits almost within my math, but yeah, okay.
yeah, that's a replacement. That's
Yeah.
we build plants brand new. They're in that ballpark.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a $70-80 million investment would be good for us to make sure the plant still
Yes.
operates well. So.
Yes, it's a fraction of the whole value of the plant.
Okay. I just try to understand in ballpark terms how things work. So.
Does this give us any treatment capacity increase?
No,
It does, so, okay.
you don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have 12 MGD. Your average is 6 to 7.
Okay, so we got
capacity.
okay. So at
You
least
got a lot of growth.
the police capacity to handle at least 50% more of what we are getting now. I just use those terms. Okay. So
Yes.
okay. All right. Let's
I'd like to also then add that previous to this, we had a meeting prior to this meeting.
Yes.
Addressing a lot of what we talked about throughout the plant, not to overkill it with you folks. We will give another update in the next month meeting. However, we've changed some things around. We've come up with some different plans, a lot of suggestions through Nathan, and they've just been really, and Dan, amazing of what they've been coming forward with thus far. So we don't want to confuse anyone by trying to introduce too much right now.
No, it's a good
We do
base,
have
yeah.
a complete study that's in the process at the moment.
Great.
With that, we also need to talk about the Baker Tilly portion of it. Baker Tilly is also doing I think we're on that topic, doing the ARPA money that we gave away, or that we actually approved 2 months ago, which was the $20,000. And this is a retainer for the study that we're doing for rate increase.
Okay, that's a little separate from where we're at, I think, right now, so.
I thought that was
This covers the,
next on the agenda.
oh, we're still on MS Consultants, right?
Correct.
So we've got preliminary progress report, probable cost, we just got that's the 70 to 80 million bucks, and an invoice, which I don't think we've approved yet.
I don't think there's a separate line item on the agenda for Baker Tilly.
Okay, so let's just finish this piece and then go to Baker Tilly.
Sure, absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay. And your recommendation is we move, right?
Correct.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that we approve the invoice number 61-04G 30-00-4.
No
To
second.
be exact.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Okay, so Chris, back into Baker Tilly.
Okay.
Mr. President, can I ask a question before he gives that overview?
Yeah.
Because I'm just curious if it ties together or not, and you can incorporate it in your comment. Do we know whether or not the rate study that you're going to talk about with Baker Tilly, is that a necessary component to the bond issuance that you're doing?
Correct.
So it does tie together.
That's why I'm tying them together, because
I just want to make sure you mention that so that they get it.
Thank you. No,
Yeah.
I assume that was gonna be in there somewhere, sure.
the rate study is, of course, why we need the money to build a new plant, or to revamp our plant.
Well,
So,
so let me back up. I'm assuming we're gonna define a plant and get ready to spend some money, and that's gonna take a bond, and then the rate is gonna pay off the bond.
correct.
Okay, so that's generally speaking how things work, so thank you.
It makes sense, yes.
Okay, so
So,
go back to Baker Tilly again, okay, so thanks.
in engaging with Baker Tilly, we initially, the mayor approved ARPA money for the $20,000 study that we did. Baker Tilly feels at this point now that we're gonna put a cap on it again, we need to go to $30,000. So that will then cover everything that we need to do for the study itself. So the $10,000 will come from the district. The $20,000 you did 2 months ago earmarked for this project.
Okay.
So my recommendation is we approve another additional $10,000 of sanitary money to go towards the Baker Tilly fund.
Okay. And that money will just show up as an invoice next month from Baker Tilly or something?
It'll show up when they're ready for that next payment.
But you're asking for
We're gonna
$10,000.
utilize
You're asking
20
$10,000 out of the budget now.
Correct, they'll bill us in increments, correct.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve the additional $10,000 for Baker Tilly to come out of the sanitary funds.
I will second that motion.
Packet that you received separately, I just want to make sure that.
All those in favor,
Explains it all.
signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Fate, Great Lakes Engineering. Snyder Geomatics.
Good evening. Good evening.
Oh, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Lots of news.
I like that.
Yeah. First thing that is on the agenda is the acquisition by Schneider Geomatics. Great Lakes Engineering has been acquired. It was official on March 3rd. We will now be referred to as the Great Lakes Division for Schneider Geomatics. It's a great thing. Schneider is, it's a decades-old company, family-owned. Several offices in the state of Indiana. We bring some services that they don't currently have, and then they open up a lot of services that we can provide clients as well. On a day-to-day, nothing changes. Same people in the staff, different letterhead. That's about it. From what people see, nothing changes. But I do want to make that announcement. So, we're excited. Yeah, all the employees.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, if the employees are happy on an acquisition, I always like that, so.
They all stayed.
That's impressive.
They all stayed.
All right, good.
They all got their offer, decided to stay, so that's great.
You didn't have to put 5 items in or anything?
No,
That's fair.
it was okay. Yeah. So that's our news, great news. So our next invoice will be from Schneider, but that's all you'll notice in service. Highway 12, the Lake Avenue project. Right now we're in a phase of getting ready for construction. There's several things that we need to do to be ready. There's still some in-depth permitting, which is some additional work that you authorized to do. We're at the point where the drawings are being finalized, and we'll be able to submit that application soon. Excuse me. We've been coordinating with NIPSCO as well. Done some great news there. Gas is right underneath us, and 3-phase is right across the street. So life it's really good for that.
And the gas is for, you have a backup generator or
Yes.
something? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. I know the IDEM sewer extension permit approval is proceeding, and other permits are moving forward. And then we're already reviewing contractor shop drawings and submittals and getting things to us. So just a few little checklist items like this, and then we'll be able to move forward with construction. Okay.
Okay, so on the agenda, we have a consent for assignment of services agreement.
Yes.
Correct, I recommend, and there'll be 3 total,
Okay.
because each project must be changed, and it's just to change the name.
Oh, I see.
So now we'll be dealing with Schneider instead of Joe.
Okay, so I thought this sounded familiar to me, so it was just name change update, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can we do all 3 consignments for each project at one motion?
It's
Well,
basically
we're
just
gonna
a
do
change.
we can do the invoice on each one and the agreement on each one. That makes sense? Sure.
I think there's
Approve 3 invoices.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will make a motion to approve the consent of assignment of services for the Lake Avenue Highway 12 lift station project, the Birch Tree Farms drainage study, and the Michigan City Annex Area Sewer Extension project.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, then I think you want to get paid, so let's want to go to the invoices.
I guess they do want to
Yeah,
get.
it helps. Yeah.
I will make a motion to approve invoice number 8690 for the Lake Ave sewer of $6,657.67. the invoice number 8691 for verification of receipt of services for the Birch Tree Farms drainage study, and invoice number 8692, the verification of receipt of service for that Michigan City Annex Sewer Extension Project in the amount of $1,350.
I'll second it.
The second one was $5,180.
Okay. Motion made and seconded.
Second it, yes, at the new level.
And all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. I do want to give you just a quick update though on
Please.
the
Sewer extension.
Michigan City Annex Area Sewer. We got through a lot of, the preliminary paperwork. We did give the contractor a notice to proceed. They have been out there, getting ready. They're laying down some erosion control, clearing some brush, some things they can do before the
Originals.
the transfer of item, or the wetland property is done, which we expect that to be within the next week or two. But they're still got started trying to get something done, get a jump on things.
That's great, so start for spring, get rolling.
Right.
So when people go by the area, just what would they see? Is there actual activity out there right now?
Not
Or
right
is that
now.
just going to be in the next?
Right, yeah, they worked Monday and Tuesday getting some erosion control down, clearing some brush that they could clear without being in a wetland area.
Okay.
As soon as we get the okay that we're clear to do that, they'll be back out. It's about a week or 2 weeks.
Okay. So this is along Route 12?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. Any
And
other
don't
questions?
really see much except the jacking under the highway.
That's, yeah, you're really not. I mean, a lot
Everything
of
else
it's,
is out.
yeah, it's kind of, like behind the cemetery, and
Yeah.
a lot of it's up there. Yep.
Well, I just love the idea when, we're actually making some progress someplace that we actually describe what the progress is rather than just create all the curiosity, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, pretty soon, I think in a couple of weeks, you start seeing some structures and pipe go on the ground too.
well, maybe we'll have a little groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Or let's make when we turn the last valve.
All
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. All right, item number 11, Chris?
Yes, the uniform policy for clothing allows for the district itself. We had previously had MES suppliers out of Indianapolis, which we did not renew that contract this year. We've gone with a new company, which is the Census program, and I'd like Josh to help introduce it.
Great.
Yeah, as up through last year, the sanitary district has used Uniform House, like Chris was explaining, for the clothing allowance program, and there's been multiple problems with Uniform House. So we started researching other avenues to fulfill the clothing allowance program, and we've had several meetings and teams meetings with Cintas. And Cintas, some of you may remember, we utilized them as a one-time purchase last year to provide safety footwear for the sanitary district, and they came out with a boot truck. And so we contacted them and see what kind of programs that they had for uniforms. And they actually have a program, it's called the Quantity Purchase Agreement, and it's market basket pricing that they negotiated with the Department of Administration of Indiana to give government entities a discounted pricing on uniforms, and they offered that to the sanitary district. And then we looked at that, and then in your packet you should have an example of like the uniforms that they offer there. And they're nationwide. They're a really good business to use for uniform apparel. Have a lot of quality items. That third page, it kind of gives you an order experience roadmap. They've been doing this a long time. Have a really good program where they can customize a website, which they'll be designed for the sanitary district. And we came up with some items to put on there from their website. And there's some examples in the packets there as well. And a lot of the items should be the same type of items that the employees would be used to, that they would order from the Uniform House. So for fitment and the items that they are used to and would like to order will be included in here as well. So step one would be the employee would get username and password to use on their website. They would place that order. They would get confirmation that the order was received from Cintas. They have several distribution centers throughout the United States that the order is processed. They'll get a confirmation on that of when the order is shipped, and it'll be shipped here to the office at 1100 8th Street. We'll notify the employees that the orders are in. And they have a lot of good workwear there. They have a lot of the high vis for the PPE, safety footwear. So in researching, we found that Cintas had good pricing. They even offer a 10% discount with that QPA pricing that they're going to offer to us on items that weren't included in the agreement for the market basket pricing. And we feel that Cintas would be our best option to go with for the uniform program here in the Sanitary District. So then we came up with a policy that is in accordance with Section 5 of calendar year 2025 of the salary resolution that was already approved by the board, that all staff will receive a $500 clothing allowance with the exception of the staff assigned to the position of customer account representative, receptionist, dispatcher, administrative assistant, accounting administrator, and business facilities positions, which will receive a $250 clothing allowance. And that clothing allowance program will be administered by the Sanitary District through the business facilities manager and inspection and safety foreman. We're asking that Sanitary District use Cintas for the clothing allowance program, and all staff will be able to utilize or assign clothing allowance on the website Cintas is created for the Sanitary District. Orders will be placed on the website in the same manner that was done on the Uniform House. So the employees will be familiar with how it operates, and Cintas is offering free shipping on orders over $150. We're still trying to negotiate if they all orders, but that's reasonable. You place a $150 order, it'd be free shipping to the Sanitary District, and all orders are going to get shipped to the front office here at 1100 East 8th Street. Upon receipt, the staff in the front office will notify employees to verify that all items that were ordered are received. Employee will sign that they received the items, and they can use the restrooms here in the administration building to verify that the correct fit. And if the orders are the wrong size and needs to be exchanged for a different size, that will be handled by the employee because they ordered the wrong sizing. And Cintas does offer what's called True Fit, which I wasn't familiar with that, to ask them what that is. It's an AI app that you can enter in your personal sizing and sizes that you wear in known brands, and they will help recommend you order this size by that True Fit app. And then all garments such as our coats, jackets, sweatshirts, shirts, they will have the district logo imprinted on them, and we'll handle that in staff. Actually, IT's got a machine where they can do the silk screen of the logo, so that we'll have all that. That will have the district logo on all our garments here at the district. And we'll recommend that they try those items on before we put the logo on them, because once that's on there, you can't return it, obviously. So they'll have that option.
I mean, everybody doesn't look Gary Sanitary District on there.
Yeah. And then we're recommending new employees hired after January 1st and before August 1st will have a $250 clothing allowance after they complete their 90-day probationary period. And then anybody hired on or after August 1st will just wait till the following year of January to order their items. There will not be any carryover of our allowances. Once you get to December 31st, if the employee hasn't used all of their allowance, it's going to be forfeited, and the allowances will reset then January 1st to the amounts for those employees. And they'll have that website that they can go on to through their email and access the website that's created by Cintas for the Sanitary District.
How'd the boot truck work out?
The boot truck worked out great, and the footwear that was on the boot truck, I was able to put into our website. And if there was maybe a particular boot that somebody wanted that they got off the boot truck that wasn't in there, they said items can be updated within 24 hours. So if there's a particular safety boot that they want, they can talk to me, and I can get that added onto our website, and then they can order it. from there.
NDOT does that twice a year, and a lot of those guys take advantage of that.
Right.
It was pretty handy. They just pull right up by the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cintas is great. I mean, we feel that they're going to be our best option to fulfill the clothing allowance program. And there will be going to be more oversight with management, make sure that the orders that were placed or received. Uniform House was just a nightmare to deal with, as Chris knows. And Chris, myself, and Al Wallace and Andy, we've been working on this. And so we're just asking are there any questions that the board approves using Cintas for the clothing allowance program as presented for the sanitary district.
Well, it appears to be very well thought out. I like your
Yes.
chart here and the fact that the stuff's shipped here, you got a point of coordination and reconciliation. I would ask, so $500 and $250 sounds like the right number. So let me just ask a weird question. So I get to the end of the year and I'm Simon Office Board or something, and I'm at $250 and I've already spent $230. The last $20.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. They also have where, you're talking about like maybe for the shipping issue or something?
No, I'm just coming down to if my clothing allowance isn't exactly $500, it's $250. If I spend near that, but I don't spend quite all of it, it seems like a waste of money. But I mean,
okay, I know what you're saying.
Or a loss of something. You get me, Chris?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so I did put, there are some smaller items in there. I think there's like, say, a pair of socks or something at $15.
Okay, so you've got some room.
So I thought of some other items to help get you to that point. And Cintas is also good about if the employee goes over that amount, they can put it on their personal credit card, which is good. So if they want to use their full $500 allotment, and if you go to say 505, you enter your credit card information, and then you can pay that $5 out of your pocket there.
Yeah, you talked about socks and that. I didn't see, we had it in that.
Yeah,
glove availability too, like work gloves and that.
Yeah,
they have anything like that.
They do have that. That is a possibility, like you're saying, smaller items. Because I thought of that as well. That I could put some, even like a hat or something. Those are in there too. Like a stocking cap is maybe like $8 or something. But yeah, I was thinking of adding that in too, just to help get them to that full amount.
Well, it seems to be very well thought out, and since you've already got in the plan for the $250 and $500,
we have like
there's not going to be a budget impact on this thing.
Correct,
So,
and we've been,
Right.
this money's been allotted, so we're encumbered actually to our 25 contract. However, because it's the marketing process that we're utilizing, we don't have to do a bid process. We did talk with Wildman.
Yeah, we
did talk
do.
about-
Yeah, I do have some items here. I mean, if you want to look at, we contacted Wildman Uniforms. Also, then we have the information from Uniform House. And as far as pricing and items, this is going to be our best fit.
Sounds very thorough, so appreciate all your work. So, what's the pleasure of the board?
I take a motion that we approve the transfer over to Cintas for our employee uniform program.
I will second that motion.
I also note that there's a really high quality brands in here too.
Absolutely.
So,
I saw that.
And we limited, the catalog is limited to us, so it's very specifically made for our purpose. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is we wanted to make it our color schemes.
Yeah.
But we also want them all identifiable. We're not getting back, we want to get back to identifiable clothing that we're wearing here instead of just whatever.
Right. Like we'll have the logos on all the shirts and whatever. And I mean, there are items that are like business for those departments, and then a lot of high vis items for the guys working on the street. So we'll have the proper PPE, safety footwear, and some good garments, so everybody will be protected and look professional.
That's exciting. So, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Great work.
Thank you.
Mr. President, just one quick comment. If the board secretary can make sure that the QPA number is in the minutes, technically, that's what the procurement method that you made use of just now with that approval. And the statute requires that you have the QPA number in the minutes.
Okay.
That's what we used. So,
Do I need to read that? I think I might have that information, or I can just do that.
you can give it to.
I'll just.
I'll make sure that it's what it is if you want.
Okay.
You can look at it, but she's the one that needs it.
This is,
And that pricing system is negotiated by the state
Yeah.
prior to
That's
this,
the
so
number. That's the number.
it's for vehicles,
All right.
clothing, equipment. Once you get a QPA price, we don't have to negotiate, we don't have to go to other deal, or get other bids. We can just go with that price.
Okay, still a few items left to go. Thank you very much. Sanitary District projects, Chris, Lincoln Avenue.
Yes, this would be me. The first one I will speak of is the Lincoln Avenue Sewer Replacement Project that began in 2022. It was, went out for bids in 2023, received bids in May of 2023, awarded in July of 2023, and then, of course, the board approved the $765,767.88 for the whole construction, which began in September of 2023. Throughout the course of this, there were some change orders due to a collapsible main within the Lincoln Avenue corridor. With that, though, unfortunately, there was quite a few different errors within the change orders. Some of the change orders were done verbally. The change orders are supposed to historically be accomplished, are to then come to the board for each and every change order to get approved prior to, or if it's an emergency, to get it done ahead of time. So those unfortunate items were not accomplished. So at this point, I'd like to actually close out a portion of this. I've talked with Mr. Harris in depth, and he agrees with my synopsis, but what I'd like to do then is to authorize the payment of Woodruff, which would be the contractor in the situation, of an initial amount of $69,846.85, a release of the retainer, which would keep a retainer amount back for the project of $65,004.47, for a total payment to Woodruff of $134,851.32 to complete this project. I don't want to close out complete project at this moment because I'm going to leave it in Mr. Harris's hands, but the dates on the change orders are like more recent than they should have been at that time. And I don't agree with that, and so then we're going to let that Mr. Harris negotiate that and figure it out.
Okay, so just for clarification for me, $134,000 includes the change orders or does not include the change orders?
No. This is just
the work that's been performed, but without the change orders.
Correct. And these are the monies that Woodruff has already, that they've completed. Okay. So that's the money that they are due that money, and they rightfully have proved.
So you're carving that out of the...
Correct, carving that out, correct.
So as the items relative to the change orders come forward, they will be constructed in the field, then will be charged, or they've already been done in the field?
Well, I think this is now a case for Mr. Harris, so I don't want to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure we know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I'm gonna find that out.
Okay,
Report back to the
okay.
board. And I think that's his recommendation of, let's investigate that a little bit further, report back, and then make a recommendation.
So anyway, but the point is, based on your analysis, Chris, the $134,000 is money spent for the good of the sanitary district, and the other stuff can be sorted out.
Will be sorted out, correct. Will be sorted out and then determine what signatures need to be signed and when you will sign them and how you will sign them. And Mr. Harris will give us that direction.
I'm assuming that'll, in a go-forward position, working with Woodruff or anybody else, we won't end up with change orders out of line with actual board approval or without, specifically without your approval, I guess, so.
Well, this, again,
It's a process being studed, this, I think, that's my point.
correct. Housing Association was tasked with the construction inspection portion of this.
Okay.
So the onus was on them to complete all of these in the proper fashion.
Okay.
I just don't feel at this moment that that was done properly.
Okay.
So that's why I've turned it over to Mr. Harris, who will then determine the next step.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically what you're looking for is in page 5 of Al Wallace's report here, where Woodruff and Sons have been paid $585,040 through pay request 2 in April of 2024, which leaves the remaining balance work performed and the release of retainage in the amount of $134,851.32. So that's what you want us to do.
That is my recommendation.
Okay, correct. All right, got it.
So would you like to make a motion to that?
I will make a motion to approve payment from Woodruff and Sons in the amount of $134,851.32 for a fine pay request.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Within your packet is more of the detailed explanation that you can read, and then if you have more questions, Mr. Harris can help answer those at a later date.
Well, I always want to be clear on bidding processes and change orders and what we pay for when, and make sure the approvals are in line with the timing of the project actually going on. And I understand emergencies come up too, so, but, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carries. So, project milestone summary. Is that anything else in there? Is that separate from this?
That is pretty much exactly what I just read off of the milestones, correct.
Gotcha, okay.
So, again, the project was completed in 2023. The substantial completion was done on August 13th, I believe, of 2023.
Okay.
So for me to sign things now in 2025 is...
No, I appreciate it. Of course. I'm not sure you were in this position in 23, so.
I was not.
So, there's a little bit of room anyway. So, okay. Well, that's the whole point of our activity here, is to really get the ship locked down tight, so we can weather the next storm. Sanitary District monthly reports. Item 13.
As part of my report, I want to identify that we have separated where we had a CFO that worked here, as we talked in the past, that no longer works in this facility. We have incorporated with the controller's office, and I think we've explained a little bit of that in the past, that we now have a group of 3 assistants that work for us at the City Hall under the controller's guidance. So we now have a better system that we've incorporated. They are our employees and they are there now, and it makes their system so much better. With that, as Mr. Hall explained, one of those 3 takes care of the lien processes. So we have not done lien processes for the last couple of years. So now we are reintroducing the lien process, and we have a person assigned that, and that's why he has been tasked to make that process a valid procedure. So that person is in that office too. So things are working very well on that end, and more so on this end too. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up to you. We have 2 other...
Chris, we have a verification of receipt that we need for Haas. We need to get approved.
No, we are stating about this. Yeah, we decided to stay about it.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, I apologize. The lift station is still in the process, which is the county erected that station out there at 400 and 421. And then it's still being completed to then be turned over to us eventually. So that's where we're at now, so we're still within that process. So I kind of just wanted to bring that up at this point. Otherwise, you see the other monthly staff reports. If there's any questions, I can help answer them.
Good. Thank you. All right, so let's, we have the revenue and tax levy claims for payment. Just that 24 just a second. By the way, I appreciate your staff's work on these binders there. And the audience want to see this is about a
Kind of helps to get through it.
for every month, so. But it's all in there, so.
The claims docket, the total claims for the claims docket, I'll break it down from the sanitary district of $220,928.11. The sanitary district tax of $63,954.75. The sanitary Indian Springs of $214.84 for a total claims of $285,097.70. It's my recommendation that you approve these claims.
And the recommendation from the board is?
Make a motion to approve and allow the revenue and tax levy claims for payment.
I will second that motion.
And to add to that, going back to the beginning of our discussion, at the beginning of the meeting, we have in our operating account $2,055,857, and in our tax levy refuse account, we have $2,665,000. So our claims for $285,000 out of a $5.1 million budget will get paid.
Yes, sir.
Assuming we approve this. So, all right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, so, full business.
Well, business, if you pull out the organizational chart that we have in front of you that we've approved here at the previous meeting in January. An update to this, which would have been on 2/21/25, we had earmarked as in our salary ordinance, a biosolids and pretreatment manager. And we had a salary for that person that ranged from $49,067.20 to $58,656 plus benefits. In the interim, we have found a gentleman that's well qualified. His name is Paul Anderson, who has accepted this position in a part-time basis. So he's doing a 3-day-a-week stint here on a part-time basis, so there will be no benefits, but he's going to be making $35 an hour times a 24-hour work week times 52 work weeks would be a total of $43,680 even. It actually is lower than what our costs were going to be for a person that is highly qualified for this position and someone that is well needed. He's already begun his position, again, on that time period. The only exception to this is it's now changed the organizational chart that he reports to me and not to Rhonda, as it should have been normally, but we decided to change it on that way.
I assume Rhonda's fine with that.
Yes.
Just checking.
That's the only change I would like.
And 3 days a week is sufficient to get the job done.
Correct. 3 days a week, correct. So we are very fortunate to have him, and I'd like to the approval of the organizational chart.
Let's make a motion to approve the amendment to the organizational chart.
I will second that motion.
Inclusive with that would be the salary ordinance, because I just read that off, that it changes it to a lower number, but still within our salary ordinance.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
one suggestion for the org chart, as you know, it's kind of a living, breathing document. I would recommend adding, you have updated February 21st, 2025 at the bottom. I would also add board approved and then the date that it's approved. It's just easier to track.
Yeah, and then box it all together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good advice. All right, so now that's the fun part of the meeting, not the rest wasn't fun. But let's talk about something amusing. How about the Michigan City Public Art Committee's request to locate art at Striegel Pond?
We were approached on January 29th from the MAC, which is, of course, the Michigan City Public Arts Committee, in which they suggested, you'll see the pictures in your folder of a statue that they would like to erect on our property, which is the Striegel Pond property. It would be of no cost to the district whatsoever, and they will pay for all installation and all fees associated to that. And so we just need approval to erect that at the Striegel Pond location. I also recommend that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? Just to show the audience what the art will look like. It's very pretty, so. Or amusing, I'm not sure what the right artistic term is, but.
By large, very beautiful statues.
And so, again, if the Public Arts Committee is behind it, obviously it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
And I
you.
want to just add that I saw this morning on Fox 32 News that there was a picture submitted by a resident to them of Striegel Pond with the Canadian geese on the water today. So,
okay.
so that had nothing to do
Next time it'll have the background with the art.
with this art.
Yeah, so certainly.
Send it to
Nothing
them.
to do with getting these.
All right. Our next meeting is going to be on March 26th here at 4 o'clock. The agenda's subject to change. Any further discussion before I call the meeting to close? Anything else come before the board? And thank you, audience, for the participation. Yes, Chris?
I apologize, but you had said the last meeting that you wanted to then reopen public comment again at the very end of, I'm asking if that's what you're.
No, what I was trying to do at the front end of the meeting was, if you want to make a public comment relative to the agenda item, let's hold that comment at the beginning until the agenda item, and then we'll go through it at the agenda item. But that said, if there is any other public comment. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.